Yeah, so we got a problem with an inverter. It's supposed to be a 1500 watt inverter. And can't run a rice cooker, which takes 300 watts. And if I can't cook in an Instapot or a rice cooker, then I'm not going to be happy. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. I'll give you a little aftermath of the storm that just came through. We got like 17 degrees at night. And we're going to kind of walk through the mess it makes with mud. Look at this. So this is why you want to get your core development done during the warm seasons, because especially stuff like this, look at that. Now, again, we talk about patterns. What does this show you? Shows you that north-facing shaded slopes are going to have snow on it longer. The flat level spaces are going to take that heat better. And so we want to establish grass on the hills whenever possible to prevent erosions. But while we have our storm and our snow and stuff like that, we want to be seeding so that we get good soil to seed contact and we can establish grass. Because walking in this mess, even though I'm walking along the fence line, is not very good. Isn't it amazing how when you understand the patterns that you can take a small amount of information like an observation and turn it into something useful? All right, the goats are doing pretty good. They are always tidied up in that little shelter over there. I don't even see my breath. Nope, not now. Anyway, it's significantly warmer down here on the bottom than it is up on the top. Even though cold air is going to come down slope, it's warmer down here because, again, the sun exposure. Now, you can see over this section, it's shaded by the trees. It is a spot that gets evening sun, and it's got ice on it right now. That means in the mornings, this could be muddy. This could be wet. Definitely could still have snow on it. And then, of course, where the goats are staying, it gets a little bit warmer. We have a couple solar panels here and there to keep ice from freezing. And I'll show you the bucket on the other side here shortly. You can see how the wind blew around our little solar panel just leaning there. Let me show you the ice here. All right, so I told you if you put a bucket in here, that the ice won't freeze up all the way. And since this won't let me change my camera while I'm talking it this way, like an apple can, let me see if we can do this. All right, here we go. Well, see how there's still water on the top? There's still a little bit of water on the top here. The ice doesn't break because it's literally deep ice up top. But here it's not deep ice. But there is still a little bit of water around the edges where the goats can get something to drink. It's horrible camera activity. Should fire me. Anyway, like I said, so any place that there's shade, there's going to be ice and snow. And so, for example, if your hay got wet, it would freeze out. If there's no way for the sun to get on it, and being that it's shady over here and the sun comes up over there, this particular space would need an opening that way so we can get the warm sunlight into it. Now, the sun's going to fade the hay a little bit, so we don't necessarily want the sun to be exposed to these hay to be exposed to the sun. However, if we turn it the other way, every time we go to work, it's going to be cold. Especially since most of the work done at a farm is done early in the morning. Why are you standing in the bucket? You got a goat over there standing in a bucket, complaining. Now, here's something that was cool. Came out here last night. The rocks down here on this pad that's 6 to 8 inches deep, there's no snow. Where did the snow go? Well, the rocks retain a little bit of heat during the day, and so it's definitely a nice dry spot in order to walk around. And it is, that's great because that's where the containers are, to get into the containers. So we can walk around back here, which is behind the containers. And you've seen a lot of these walkabouts before, and I was going to show you something right about here. Down, let me get out of the sun here. All right, so down here, you can see yellow snow that wasn't made by me. It's actually where water accumulates under the rock and flowed out the back here. And it didn't flow all the way out the back, but this area tells me I need to raise the soil up a little bit, get some more vegetation growing here, because we have the potential for water to have come from a variety of sources, mainly upslope, and to permeate through the rock base. Remember, the rock base is there so that water can spread away from being accumulated underneath the containers. We don't want a lot of moisture under the container. But in this case, there's a low spot. And that low spot had standing water that froze, and that freezing mixed with the snow, and that's how we have a discoloration of the snow. Now, there's no magic to this. It's about understanding and learning patterns as they apply to our designs. Even in the case of the back here, you can see the angle back here. I don't really want to walk out there in the mud, but the angle back here, you can see these containers throw shade all the way out there, but they don't throw shade down the hill into the woods, because the elevation that we're at, based on sun angles during certain times of the day, and it is winter, so the sun is at its lowest, these sun angles are not preventing this area from drying out a little bit. You can see a little bit of pick in it in the hill. And then the hill also, I guess I'll walk out here since I got to go turn that fence off anyway. So you can see the hill while it's shaded. If we had grass that was tall, the angle not only is good for erosion, but it can still catch a little bit of that solar energy and grow plants here. I was thinking about this last night. When we get tall plants growing, I'm going to let the grass grow 2 or 3 feet, and then I'm going to keep shaving the top where we're walking with a ditching blade and feed that to the goats. And then from the bottom, I'm going to carve things out. But there'll be less sun on the bottom than on the top. So we're going to be mindful of that by harvesting primarily from the top. And then when we remove the materials from the top, the sun will expose the middle. And then we remove the materials from the middle, the sun will expose the bottom, only at a certain elevation. Of course, in spring and summer, the sun is higher in the sky. And so these north-facing slopes will actually have plant matter. And that's where it comes when you're talking about planting trees on your north-facing slopes, while on southern-facing slopes, you might plant vegetables or terrace gardens that face south. Again, if this stuff is interesting to you, it should be, because it helps improve the energy usage on the property while getting more from the natural systems rather than having to, pump water uphill and stuff like that. And then it ultimately helps with the long-term design, because we do need areas to dry out. These goats are in an area right here that we need it to dry out. They can't be wet foot all the time, or they'll end up with a hoof rot or something. And so the corrals going east to west, facing with a southern exposure, are going to be drier corrals than north to south with western or eastern exposure. And then when you factor in wind and other stuff, that's important. However, see, a garden needs the moisture. So a north-south, or in northern hemisphere, a north-south oriented garden is going to retain more moisture. And because it retains more moisture and has better sun exposure over the north-south facing, because those are narrow strips, then you're going to have more growth from the plants. And so again, these are things that we consider in a permaculture design course. These are things we consider when we design properties. There's the things that we consider when we're putting trails on the property. And if you want a proper design that requires less input, less maintenance, and gets you an abundant outcome, and I don't know why I'm standing in the shade right now, but I just thought about that. I'm standing in the shade and it's cold. Anyway, you're in the right place. www.prosperityhomestead.org. Ooh, this is a nice spot right here. I feel that sun. www.prosperityhomestead.org. Join our free newsletter. We have a community that's coming together. I have some recommendations for masterminds and other places you can get practical insights. I know the message boards seem like you're doing something, but if you're on Reddit, if you're on Facebook groups and other stuff like that, you're not getting well-intentioned advice for your situation. You're getting opinion, you're getting people's guesses, not someone who's actually looked at your property with a Google Earth or some kind of satellite mapping, looked at rain and water conditions. He's done the homework necessary to make sure you can get your small farm or homestead up and running, to get that personal freedom, to have that food security in 12 months or less at break even or better. Now, you might not like our plan because it's not about building a big house and getting your ATVs and getting your, a tractor and all that other stuff. It's about practical implementation. It's holistic, good for the land, good for people, and helps you get into production, which is cash flow, as quickly as possible. Again, I'm Justin Hitt, Prosperity Homestead, www.prosperityhomestead.org. I'd love to see your comments below. I know a lot of people get all worked up when I say permaculture and money and the same thing, but again, there's 8 forms of capital. Each of these things work, and one of the forms of capital that I'm utilizing right here is right up there, is that sun. The sun that sustains the earth. And by designing the landscape in an orientation, in a way, it's not going to be perfect every time, but in a way that we're benefiting from that energy, we can grow more, we can have more, we can be more, we can enjoy more. See you in the next podcast.